Coming up today, we chat to a young lady from America living in the UK, talking about the rubbish British weather. If you're planning to visit Rome, when's the best time to visit the fountains? We learn all about art history and how well can Caroline do in our TravelOQuiz. Hiya, it's Tim, and today on Travelobreak, we're staying in the UK and we're heading to Reading. In the beautiful countryside of England, just off the River Thames, Reading has shops and riverside restaurants dotting the town centre. And the town is most famous for the annual Reading Festival, which is a massive outside rock music event every year. Today on Travelobreak, I chat to Caroline. So Caroline, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Do you know what?
And yourself?
Yeah, not bad. It's really good to talk to somebody else who's in the same country as me for a change.
I'm sure you speak to lots of people around the world, so someone who's close to home is a nice change.
Yeah, we do. And actually, we were just talking a minute ago about how rubbish the weather is here in the UK at the moment. Whereabouts are you based?
Well, I'm based in Reading. Before I was living in Spain for about 9 years, so obviously the weather change is quite drastic for me.
Yeah.
Going weeks without sunshine is very difficult. I'm originally from Arizona in the United States, so we have about 330 days of sunshine there as well.
Yeah,
so
rub it in,
I'm
why
getting
not?
used to the grey skies and the rainy days.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people, in the UK get really depressed about the weather, and we do talk about it all the time, but there's not really... I mean, like today, the last few days have just been misty and foggy for like 3 days. It's like Groundhog Day, the movie. Have you seen that?
I have. I've been experiencing that. I've never seen the sky be grey for so many days in a row.
Yeah,
so.
Welcome to England, Caroline.
Thank you.
So we've done some research about you, and we were amazed that you are a co-writer at medievalists.net.
Yes.
What do you write for them?
Well, actually, I'm the co-editor for the Medieval magazine. So if you know about medievalists.net, they've been around for about 10 years. They've been really kind of pioneers of bringing history, medieval history and early modern history to the digital sphere. And so they started with the Medieval magazine just a few years ago as another branch from within the website. So I just started working with them actually about a month ago. So I'm working with their head editor, Sandra Alvarez, and I'm their co-editor. So with that, so I'm editing different pieces, but I'm also contributing in the travel section. So, for example, right now I'm working on a piece about Santiago de Compostela, which is in northern Spain.
Okay.
I've written about some different locations here in England. So I've traveled extensively throughout Europe. Specifically looking at historical sites. So apart from the co-editing and the creation of the magazine, the 2 issues each month, I'm also contributing in the travel section.
So you travel to lots of medieval sites around the world. I take it you've been to Rome?
I have been to Rome. I've been to Rome numerous times, actually. I actually wrote quite a long blog post about my trip to Rome last year. I went to Rome by myself.
Right.
Actually for 4 days. So it was a really interesting experience to visit the ancient capital on my own without anyone else. It's a fantastic city, and it's a really good place for people who do want to do a solo trip, but it's safe. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of different places to go and see, so it's easy to navigate, and it's good for kind of one of those first-time trips on your own.
What I found amazing in Rome was the amount of people that congregate around the Trevi fountains at any point of the day. I mean, I remember going there in the morning, it was packed. I went there in the evening at about 10 o'clock and it was still packed.
But the trick with Rome is if you go out after midnight, the city is completely empty.
Wow.
So you can go to Trevi Fountain, and I've been to Trevi Fountain at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning, and there's nobody. So you can actually get that picture of the entire fountain with maybe a few people in it. You can see the entire forum lit up. There's no one there. You can go to the Pantheon as well. So if you visited, the Pantheon has quite a long line, usually waiting, because it's free to get in, but they have to regulate how many people are in at a particular given time. So if you do Rome after midnight, it's quite safe as well, just kind of common sense. Make sure you stay in well-lit areas and stay on main streets. You can see a lot of the city without the kind of the masses. It's the same if you go over towards the Vatican. So the Vatican during the day is just, amount of people is mind-blowing.
It is.
But at night, you go, and I would say there's probably a tenth or maybe less than that of the people there. So it's a very different experience. In Rome at night, it's very well lit and it's absolutely beautiful.
That's a great tip from you, Caroline. I'll bear that in mind. I think everyone else should bear that in mind if you go to Rome and you want to see those fountains, which are truly amazing. Go at 1 a.m. So you're a medieval art history. You're into that.
Yes.
So tell us about your profession.
Well, I've had a very interesting trajectory to where I am now. So I studied medieval art and architecture, art history particularly, at the University of Arizona. So the United States, we don't have much medieval art or architecture. No. So I decided after graduating that I wanted to move to Europe to be closer. I went to Spain. And then in 2011, I started my blog, which is Art History with Caroline Quintanar. Just to kind of keep myself really interested in the topic. I particularly like Romanesque and Gothic sculpture, but I like a lot of different things. And I started there, and so I've been working on that blog now for about 7 years. I've really kind of brought together a fantastic audience, people all over the world who are really interested in the same topics. And so my current job now working with medievalists actually stemmed from just some different conversations I'd had with them in the past. You know, I'd used their resources and research and things as well. And so kind of just everything was a bit serendipitous, but it all came together. So I'm very happy. It's very rare that you get to work in something that you are really passionate about and enjoy. So I am very grateful that everything has come together to make that happen.
Well, it sounds like you are really passionate about it. And I think you're probably in one of the best countries in the world if you want to study medieval stuff. Because as you know, England is very old and has, I mean, even where I live, there's like an old Roman road and an old Roman dwelling, which a lot of people come and see. So you're in a good place for it. So, Caroline, what we would like to do now, each interview we talk to our travellers and we do our very own Traveloquiz. And we've got a bit of a leaderboard going and we'd love to know how well you know or how much you know about travelling.
Okay.
As you are into your medieval stuff, we're going to throw some medieval questions at you. Are you ready?
Oh, I hope I can answer all of them.
Here we go with Traveloquiz. Question number 1. What was the most common job for people living in the Middle Ages?
Most common job for people? Well, I would say most of them would be probably farmers or agriculture, working the land.
It was a farmer, yeah. Most of them have been or were farmers. When does the medieval period begin?
Well, you know, that's a very interesting question because that's up for a lot of debate. Most people like to say medieval time starts with the fall of Rome in 476 when it was sacked by the Goths. Others might want to argue that it's a bit later than that. So, you know, I would say it probably starts around the 5th century, which you would term as early medieval, and then goes up to the Renaissance, which again, it's a bit of a fuzzy time there depending on the country.
Wow, you make me look stupid. You really know your stuff. I put down the 1066, Battle of Hastings.
Yeah, William the Conqueror.
Yeah, question number 3. What was the biggest killer in medieval times?
I mean, the biggest killer, I would probably say the Black Plague that happened in 1348, which killed about a third of the European population.
It was the Black Death. You are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Let's move on to question number 4. Now we're going to some just general travel questions. Got a couple more. Here we go. What is the largest country in South America?
Largest country in South America. I'm going to go with Brazil, though I think it's either Brazil or Argentina, but I think Brazil's bigger.
It is Brazil. Caroline,
Okay,
you're already doing so well.
Brazil.
I already have a hunch that you could be at the top of the leaderboard if you get this one correct. What island in San Francisco Bay was the site of an almost escape-proof prison?
Alcatraz.
Caroline, you've got... Well, let's just check out the leaderboard because we had Chandrima at the bottom at the moment. We had Justin and Lindsay, and now, of course, which I think is going to be hard to beat. You got yourself 5 out of 5. Well done.
So thank you very much.
You certainly know your stuff. We'd like to know, next thing is about art history. So can you just tell us a little bit more, if anyone is listening or watching this and they want to get involved in art history, and what actually is it?
Well, art history, the definition is obviously the study of history through the means of art. So using paintings, architecture, sculpture as different particular pieces that allow you to study the history. So, for example, if you want to study the Renaissance, well, you'll think about the David by Michelangelo. You might think about even the Sistine Chapel. You might think of Mona Lisa from Da Vinci. So, these are kind of snapshots in time. And it's throughout history. So we can go back to the cave paintings. Some of the oldest ones you have in Altamira, which are in Spain, which are from thousands of years ago. And we can even do contemporary, where you look at paintings from the turn of the century here in Europe. So art history is really taking all of these pieces. It's a more visual approach to studying history. And what's fantastic about it is you have something tangible you can look at, and there's a whole story around it. And that's the part of art history that I love. So if someone really is interested in studying history, but they like the visual part, and what's cool is also when you study it, then you can go to the museums, you can go to the sites of the places, you can go to different castles, and things like that. For example, I was in Salisbury Cathedral just 2 weekends ago, which is here in England, and I had studied it in my art history class. It's just breathtaking and completely kind of takes your breath away when you stand there and see it in person. And, that's what really art history is about. It's learning about history, whatever time period interests you, but you have something visual, something you can look at, and something that really comprises a story. So it's not just facts, it's something that kind of houses everything in a visual way. It's
something I'm really interested in as well. It's kind of art history, but it's not. But I'm really interested in the Egyptians and the Egyptian culture, and I've been to the Cairo Museum and I've been to the pyramids, and I find that stuff absolutely fascinating. So I can understand the passion that you have for art history.
Well, I mean, Egypt as well, you get into Egyptology, which is kind of really into the culture, and obviously their culture was extremely complex. But when you do, for example, if you take kind of the survey art history classes, when you're feeling out in that first year of university, if it's something you want to or not, you do learn about ancient Egypt, you learn about ancient Greece, ancient Rome, kind of all of those different places, because those are things that still exist to this day. You can go to the British Museum and see, famous mummies, and you can see those around the world, and you can see their sarcophagus as well, and that's art. That was an artistic medium which tells the whole story that encompasses that one person who was buried in it.
Still to come on Travelobreak, Caroline answers your viewer questions, and this is my reaction when Caroline tells me she's eaten bull's testicles.